Ethan Cole had never been to Montana. In fact, the furthest west he'd ever gone was Kansas City for a weekend conference. He was a 34-year-old accountant from Pittsburgh, a man whose life revolved around spreadsheets, coffee runs, and the occasional Friday night trivia with his coworkers. He had no plans to leave his small apartment, no interest in rural life, and certainly no expectation that his world was about to change forever. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, tucked between a credit card offer and a flyer for a new gym. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and smelled faintly of cedar. Inside was a legal notice. You are the sole heir to the property of Jameson Cole. Ethan's eyebrows pinched. Jameson Cole, his father's older brother, a man he'd never met. The letter explained that Jameson had passed away 3 months ago and left Ethan a 200-acre ranch in a remote valley of Montana. Ethan had half a mind to ignore it, but there was something oddly persistent about the thought. A ranch. His family had never been close, but his father once told him that Uncle Jameson was the kind of man who gave away his last loaf of bread, a relic from a forgotten era. 2 weeks later, Ethan's rental car wound through dirt roads framed by tall pines and snow-tipped mountains. The ranch came into view like something from a faded postcard. A sprawling house with a wraparound porch, weathered red barns, fences in need of paint, and fields of golden grass swaying in the wind. What caught his attention wasn't the beauty of the place. It was the row of 7 women standing on the porch. They were different ages, different builds, each dressed in simple clothes. Some wore hats, others shawls, and all stood perfectly still, watching his car pull up. Ethan's first thought was that maybe they were neighbors or locals curious about the newcomer. But as he got out, the oldest, a silver-haired woman with eyes sharp as flint, stepped forward. "You're Ethan," she said, not asked. "Yes, and you are? We've been waiting for you." Her voice trembled slightly, but her gaze was steady. "All of us." The other 6 women nodded. Then, in perfect synchronization, they each reached into their coats and pulled out something: photographs. Ethan's chest tightened when he saw them. They were all of him. Some were from his college graduation, some from a charity event at work, one even from his high school baseball game. They were pictures he didn't know anyone had taken. Why do you have these?" he asked, his voice caught between suspicion and confusion. The silver-haired woman answered, "Because Jameson told us about you. He said one day you'd come, and when you did, we'd know. We are the widows." "The widows?" Ethan repeated. "Yes." Another woman, younger and wearing a plaid shirt, spoke. "Each of us lost our husbands years ago. We didn't have much, no family nearby, no one to help. But Jameson, he took us in, not as lovers, as people. He gave us a place to work, to live, to heal. He called us his girls. And he told us stories about you, said you were kind, said you'd do the right thing." Ethan felt a weight in the pit of his stomach. This wasn't just some ranch, it was a sanctuary. Over the next few days, the widows told him stories of Jameson's quiet acts of heroism. How he'd fix their roofs in the dead of winter, cook for them when they were sick, or slip envelopes of cash into their mailboxes when times were hard. How he once rode 20 miles through a snowstorm to get medicine for one of their grandkids. And then came the twist that left Ethan speechless. On the 4th night, in the old study, the silver-haired widow, her name was Mabel, handed him a leather-bound ledger. Inside were pages of neat handwriting, names, dates, and amounts. It was a record of every dollar Jameson had ever given to someone in need. But it wasn't just local widows. It included strangers, traveling families, even townspeople Ethan had never met. Each entry had a note beside it, because kindness matters. At the back of the ledger was a letter addressed to Ethan. "If you're reading this, boy, I'm gone. This ranch isn't worth much in dollars, but it's rich in something better. People. I've told them about you because I believe kindness runs in our blood. I know the world's taught you to count numbers, not blessings. But here, blessings are the only currency worth anything. You can sell the ranch if you want, or you can keep it and keep the circle going." That night, Ethan didn't sleep. He kept replaying the stories, the photos, and his uncle's words. The next morning, he gathered all 7 widows in the kitchen. The big table was worn smooth from years of meals and laughter. Ethan took a deep breath. "I don't know how to run a ranch," he admitted. "I don't know much about horses or fences, but I know what it feels like to be given a chance. I'm not selling this place. I want to keep it. For you, for anyone who needs it." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Mabel, who hadn't cried in years, let the tears fall. The youngest widow, Clara, grabbed his hand. "Jameson was right about you," she whispered. Over the months, the ranch became something more than Ethan could have imagined. The barn was repaired. A vegetable garden thrived. They began hosting free weekly dinners for anyone in the valley. Ranchers, truckers, travelers. Word spread, and soon people were showing up with stories, needs, and sometimes just loneliness in their eyes. One winter night, as snow dusted the fields, Ethan stood on the porch watching the widows laugh with a group of strangers around the fire pit. He realized something: this wasn't charity. It was family, a chosen one, built not from bloodlines but from shared humanity. Years later, a boy from town, barely 20, arrived at the ranch after losing both parents. He stood awkwardly at the gate until Ethan walked over. Without hesitation, Ethan handed him a warm coat and said, "You're home now." In that moment, Ethan felt his uncle's presence as if the wind itself had whispered it. "Keep the circle going." And he did, because some inheritances are measured in acres or dollars. Others in kindness that outlives the giver. And those are the ones that matter most.